rife through this area.
And a lot more informed.
I'm a black man in America. I'm a survivor.
It's Jim Franklin Live.
Just wanted to say I like your show, dude.
Weekday mornings at 8 on AM 1680, The Answer.
Serrano's Furniture is the proud sponsor of The Fighter's Voice, Central Valley's only boxing and MMA one-hour weekly talk show featuring local, amateur, and professional boxers with interviews of Hall of Fame guests. Get your weekly news and updates in the boxing and martial arts world with your host from thefightersvoice.com, Richard Ortiz, here at KGED 1680 AM The Answer. Remember, every fighter has a voice.
The Fighter's Voice with Richard Ortiz, Saturday afternoon 5 to 6 and Sunday 3 to 4 p.m. on AM 1680, The Answer. From AM 1680, The Answer, this is Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza, the behind-the-scenes story of the business shakers and movers in the Valley and beyond. And now, here's your host, Lance Cardoza.
Good morning, everybody. Tuesday morning right here on AM 1680, The Answer. At 9 a.m., you can always catch us here live in studio. And we have Business Leaders Live. This week we have a business leader, the CEO and the president of the Fresno Chamber of Commerce, Nathan Ahle. Thank you for being on the program.
Absolutely. That's quite a musical intro there.
You get ready to charge the mountain. Fired up. Yeah. So you're fired up. I'm sure. Every day you come to work, it's always a new challenge and something new in our valley. A lot of people don't know, even business people, what your Fresno Chamber of Commerce or any Chamber of Commerce does for their business. And a lot of people will ask that question. Well, if I become a member, what does that do for me?
Right. One of the first misconceptions that we get all the time is that we're part of the city. I had somebody just the other day tell me, well, I tried to get a job at the city, and how did you get one and I didn't? Well, I don't work for the city. Excuse me. That's kind of a common misconception. We're not a city agency. We're not a charitable nonprofit either. We're actually a 501c6, which is specifically for chambers of commerce. And our job is to promote and strengthen the business climate in the business community here in Fresno, because we think that strengthens Fresno as a whole. It strengthens the valley as a whole. When business, particularly small businesses, are doing well, the community is doing well. You know, your property tax value goes up, your housing value goes up. It's good for the schools. It's good for your parks. A rising tide lifts all boats, and a strong business community makes Fresno better as a whole. So that's our job. Is we work every day to strengthen business here in the community.
So you don't just wake up and say, and we've talked about this, I want to be the president and CEO of the Fresno Chamber of Commerce. That's my plan, and that's where I'm going to end up. How did that all happen? Tell me your story, and how did you end up here in Fresno and working here with the Fresno Chamber of Commerce?
Well, you're right. Nobody ever sets out to have a career in chamber management. When I first got out of college, I was a newspaper guy. I started out as a sports reporter. I covered high school football and high school basketball and junior college baseball and that kind of stuff. So
that's when I see you out to the stadium.
I'm a diehard sports fan. But being a native of St. Louis, Missouri, which is one of the most diehard baseball markets in the country, you're going to get that. So for me, I spent a lot of time doing that, and then got into the editorship of my small community newspaper, where I grew up in Ridgecrest, California, which is east of Bakersfield out in the Kern County desert. So when you're the editor of a community paper, circulation 7,000, you're getting around and getting to meet lots of people, getting to meet a lot of business folks.
Creating a lot of connections in the community.
Absolutely. You go to city council meetings and you go to school board meetings and you talk to the business owners for their stories, or in some cases trying to sell them advertisements, that kind of thing. Excuse me. But what I would do is, as part of that, I would start to get involved in chamber mixers or chamber programs or luncheon programs or community events. One of the biggest events in a small town like Ridgecrest was that we did was the Community Unity Star Follies. And basically what you would do is you would take different segments of the community, get them together, get them out at the fairgrounds, dress them up in costumes, and they would do a lip sync show as a fundraiser for the Chamber of Commerce. You couldn't do that in a community like Fresno. I think
it'd be quite entertaining. I'm already thinking about it.
I think the egos are a little too big, but you look at who you could put in different places. But it's one of those things that brought the community together, and it was a fun way, in a town of 30,000 people to solve problems. You'd get
them laughing, and
you would,
and having a good time.
I mean, one that I think is relevant here in Fresno today is you'd get the head of the teachers union and the superintendent of schools in beetle wigs and have them go sing "She Loves You, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah," and while they're rehearsing and practicing, they're starting to talk to each other. They're starting to find common ground, and we actually had a dispute settled, due in large part to something like that.
Yeah.
So I was invited to do this, and just get involved in it, and they dress you up as a nurse and send you out and do silly songs and dances, and so I guess my chamber career really started in drag. Which is unusual, but it's just kind of a fun way to raise money for the community, and that got me involved in the chamber. And later on, I was asked to be on their board of directors. I did that for a few years, and then once the CEO position there in Ridgecrest came open, I was getting married and getting tired of working till midnight, putting out a newspaper, and so I applied for the position there. And
so you went from the journalism business right
That's right.
Right into
That's right. I was 29 when I started my first chamber there in Ridgecrest, and ran that one for 4 years.
And I feel your pain being there till midnight. I was a photojournalist for many years, and going through those late nights putting out the paper or solving the problem of the press going down, or there's always something. And I did commercial printing for a long time for many newspapers here in the Valley, out of Selma. So I know that grind, and I know that and it's a passion. You have a passion to tell the story.
You have to love it, and unfortunately, especially in the print media business, it's getting harder and harder all the time to have that be your career and have that be a livelihood, especially for a young person trying to start a family. So I was able to move into the executive role at the Chamber of Commerce there in Ridgecrest. So then I didn't have to do drag anymore because I was the one putting the event on, so I would pick other people to do it. But we did that. I did that for 4 years, and then moved over to the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce to do government affairs. I was the government affairs director there for almost 2 years.
That's very large Chamber of Commerce in Kern County.
It's very, very similar in size, in membership, and budget to ours here in Fresno.
Yeah.
So it was sort of a good training ground for this position, and I was doing what my esteemed friend Nathan Alonzo does for us. I was in his role
down in Kern County doing that.
Right.
Okay.
Learn a lot about ag, learn a lot about the oil industry, and about almost 2 years now, 20 months or so after Al Smith announced that he was retiring.
Talk about a media guy. There's another guy, a media guy that his story.
Absolutely. Every time I'm on the radio, I think about Al.
You think about Al. He was walking in front of and he just came in and said, he wanted a job.
I hope he's not listening now saying, "Oh, God, kid, you're terrible on the radio." He's just got that voice and that gravitas, that's perfect for radio. But,
Al in his sleep could do a radio show.
He really could. He could. But he announced he was retiring and threw my name in the hat and went through the process, and I got here February the 22nd, I think it was, of last year.
So with chambers, similar size, there's a lot of similarities to the areas and discussions, I'm sure, going back and forth. You knew of Al. He was a rock star in the community and still is.
Right.
And you probably followed it pretty closely, seeing what was going on. But at the same time, do the Chamber of Commerce talk with each other and try to help each other? Is there a networking activity to try to do that?
We do. My former boss and my good friend Nick Ortiz at the Bakersfield Chamber and I talk probably on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
One of the things that I mentioned during the interview process, and I think it's even more true now that I'm here and have been started to establish in the community, is communities like Bakersfield and Fresno have a lot more in common than they think they do.
Yeah.
And the reason, and we can get into that a little later on, is it's very much the power in California is centered in the Bay Area and centered in Southern California. Central California really has to fight, I think, from a state perspective to get any scrap of funding or attention or any kind of political or policy gains that it can get. Central California really has to work that much harder to get attention and resources from the Bay Area and from
we
Southern
tend to become
California.
a vortex of California. Yeah.
Right. The most famous one, I think, is Senate President Pro Tem Kevin De Leon, who said there was nothing in the Central Valley but tumbleweeds. Oh, yeah. Well, we all know that's not true. Yeah. Because Kevin De Leon likes to eat, and the food that he likes to eat comes from here. So, I've seen him eat. He eats more than once a day, and that food tends to come from Central California. Yeah. So there's more here than tumbleweeds. But the point is we have to work together, and I think, you're starting to see some of those partnerships between Fresno and Bakersfield and, Visalia, some of the other communities in the area. We as a chamber folks try to talk together and find ways to work together. And also, too, is part of being the vortex is electing the proper officials and making sure they're representing us properly. And I think the chamber is an advocate for large and small business to make sure that we are putting our right foot forward when we're electing a politician to make sure they represent our valley too, correct? Right. And we try to. And real quick, we have about 1,100 members, a little more than 1,100 members, and 2/3 of those are businesses of less than 10 employees. So the vast majority of our members are small folks. So, yes, we try really hard to make sure that the people that we elect to office are people that small businesses are going to appreciate. So when we come back, we're going to take a short break. We're here with the CEO and the president of the Fresno Chamber of Commerce, Nathan Ahle. Before we did this interview, I had come by your office and talked with you. You ran in the race for the cure and the marathon, and we brought your medal by. So that was fun. But we talked about, you thought you were going to be a baseball player. That's right. Like some young boys. So when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk more about the Fresno Chamber of Commerce right here on Business Leaders Live.
Every day, Poverello House serves 1,600 meals to homeless men and women and families in Fresno County. That's equivalent to one meal for each person at a sold-out Save Mart Center concert. And we've been doing it all with a warehouse and operations center that has seen much better days. Hello, this is Cruz Avila, Executive Director for the Poverello House. Help us raise the roof and fund the construction of a new fully insulated warehouse at Poverello. Together, let's build something that will have a profound impact on our community. Donate today by visiting www.poverellohouse.org or call us at 498-6988.
Hi, I'm Rick Bentley, formerly of the Fresno Bee. I now have a TV show. You can catch me on the Coca-Cola Broadcasting channels with my new show called TV Beat with Rick Bentley. Now, what I'm going to do on this show is what I did for my TV column for 18 years. I'm going to try to give you some insight to what's going on in local television and radio. Will be news. I'll give you some updates on hirings and firings. Each week I also plan to have a special guest, somebody who I believe can give you some insight in what's going on in the local media world. The idea is to be a very interactive show, so what I need you to do is sort of check out the website at www.rickbentleytvbeat.com. There you can get information about where you can find all the airings of the show and information about how to connect with me.
Watch Rick Bentley's TV Beat each Saturday at 6:30 p.m. on KGMC, Channel 43.5, and Xfinity Comcast, Channel 378.
Do you believe that kids today need a caring adult in their lives? Hi, this is Ed Kazmarek with Fresno Madera Youth for Christ. We believe kids need more than that. It takes at least 7 caring adults, a parent, a coach, a pastor, a YFC mentor, to help kids along the difficult journey of being a teenager. Life can be overwhelming. The Youth for Christ team serves at over 35 ministry sites across Fresno and Madera counties, bringing the good news of hope in Jesus Christ. Support Youth for Christ. Visit yfcnow.org today.
In this tight labor market, finding new employees can be tough. Whether you're the business owner or an HR professional, you want access to highly qualified candidates fast. More than 3 million businesses use Indeed.com, the world's #1 job site. Whether you need entry-level or highly skilled employees, no matter the industry, with Indeed you get immediate access to a high-quality pool of talent with no long-term contracts or upfront fees. For a limited time, Indeed is offering new users a $50 credit to make their first job listing a sponsored job, with premium visibility so more candidates will see it. You want to make a great hire fast, and this exclusive offer gives you a head start. Independent research shows 6 times more hires are delivered through Indeed than any other job site, making Indeed your one-stop source for hiring. To redeem this offer, go to Indeed.com/offer. That's Indeed.com/offer. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
Hey friend, Pat Boone here. For years, I've been warning fellow Americans about the war on cash, such as we saw last year in India, where the government outlawed the use of cash overnight, creating public chaos and hardship. And now, some of our own leaders want to outlaw our $100 and $50 bills right here in the USA. Well, to sort this out, I sat down with a top authority and recorded an interview. It's available now on a free CD or MP3 by calling Swiss America at 800-289-2646, 800-289-2646. I discovered why this war on cash will not end until every dollar that we earn, save, and spend can be tracked by the federal government. I want you to get your free War on Cash CD now and discover which assets still offer privacy and growth potential. Get your free War on Cash CD now, will you? 800-289-2646, 800-289-2646.
Giving you the inside story of business leaders in the Valley and beyond. This is Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza.
Welcome back to Business Leaders. I have Nathan Ahle with the Fresno Chamber of Commerce in studio. Next week, right here in studio, we're going to be talking to some of our 40 under 40. That's getting ready to be announced for the class of 2017. And we're going to bring back some of the alumni members onto the program. Oh. It'll be a lot of fun. Nathan Ahle, Fresno Chamber of Commerce. At first, I had a hard time with your last name. Mm-hmm. And I looked at it, and when you were growing up, how many, you probably had it butchered constantly. Spell it for our listeners.
Okay. Ahle, and it rhymes with jolly or holly or molly or folly or golly or any of those. Yeah. And you know, when I was a kid, it really bothered me.
Yeah.
But at this point,
that nobody could get it right.
I answer to God knows what. You know,
it's just they butcher it constantly. Yes. I'm sure.
And my wife's maiden name was Hill, which is about as, you know,
simple
easy
as,
and plain as you can get, right?
Yeah.
And so I told her when we got married, I said, you know, I'm honored that you would take my name. You know, she's very traditional in that regard, but just get used to it, okay? Yeah. You know, they're going to call you anything under the sun, so just prepare for it, and it'll roll off before too long.
So when you come to Fresno, you come from Kern County, you start in Ridgecrest. You're doing networking events, dressed in drag. You're doing everything possible.
I don't do that anymore.
Not anymore.
You know,
we might be doing it in Fresno. Look out.
Oh, boy.
So then the Fresno Chamber of Commerce, you come here, and you're doing a great job following Al Smith. And Al, like we said, is a rock star, well-connected, and just a great media guy and a connector. He knows how to connect people.
And was... He and Anna Borges, who was his vice president at the time, were just as gracious and welcoming and kind as you could ever imagine. And I have nothing but great respect for them and how wonderful they made everything, and when just helping me get acclimated to the community and taking me around. It was interesting. You come into some of these jobs sometimes, and a chamber of commerce is a business, but there's a perception that it's not, that it's a charity or it's a nonprofit, so it's not always run like a business.
Or like you said, some people think it's a government
entity,
and it's not.
So sometimes you come into these jobs and you hear the horror stories about, you know, the payroll taxes haven't been paid and the IRS is at the door and the FPPC is at the door. And Al and Anna ran the cleanest shop. I mean, it was the most turnkey operation that you could find. And it's just, I think, as a credit to their leadership and the leadership of our board, that, you know, a new person, not only new to the organization, but new to the community, was able to just walk in and the foundation pieces were there. And Fresno, I think, is very, very fortunate to have an organization that's been around as long as the chamber has, and, you know, was very healthy and ready to kind of meet the new challenges. It's been great.
And take on what you need to do.
Right,
yeah,
right.
You need to do and get out there with its members and do what you need to do. Before we went to the commercial break, we also talked about you were in journalism, which led you to this this industry of the Chamber of Commerce. But before that, like a lot of young guys, the young boys, you wanted to play baseball.
I did, yeah.
You were sports. That was your thing. And so what was, when you were a kid, what would you want to be on the Yankees?
Oh God, no, Lance.
No.
Well, like I said, I was born in St. Louis.
Yeah. So you're diehard.
And I was born in St. Louis in the 80s. So that's AstroTurf and Ozzie Smith and Whitey Herzog and Vince Coleman. And I wanted to be Jack Clark. I wanted to be the big first baseman, the tall left-handed first baseman guy. And you have to have talent. You know, it's kind of a funny thing. I know a lot about baseball. Right, right. I can't remember my anniversary, or I can't remember to get milk from the grocery store, but I can remember that Tommy Herr had 8 home runs and 110 RBIs in 1985. But I didn't have the talent to actually go out and do it. So that dream didn't last very long, unfortunately.
Do you remember your very first time you as a young boy, stepped into a stadium and what that
I do.
Look was?
I absolutely do. Back in St. Louis in the early 80s, it was Busch Stadium 2, I guess it was the big concrete donut. Remember the big round cookie cutter ones? They had them in Atlanta, they had them in Cincinnati, had them in Pittsburgh. And we had one in St. Louis, and it was that AstroTurf that would just radiate heat. I mean, you think it's hot at Chansey in July, and it is. Yeah. But that it doesn't have plastic turf where you can see the steam coming off of it. You're right. And my dad,
humid and
my dad took me, and we sat in the bleachers and watched batting practice. And I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and we sat there and watched. And they were done with BP, and they rolled the cage out. And I said, "Come on, Dad, that was fun. Let's go. Who won?" I didn't know who won. I thought that was the game. And he's like, "Oh no, we haven't even started yet." And I never, when I was a kid, I never thought about how hot it was or how humid it was. And my dad's sitting there just dripping sweat. And I need more water. And it never dawned on me. And now that I'm the dad, and we have a 4-year-old little girl and a 4-month-old son, and my daughter loves going to Grizzlies games, and I'll take her, and she doesn't notice how hot it is, and I'm just dying. So I guess kids just don't pay attention to something like that. Yeah. And when you're the parent, it's like, okay, come on, how many innings can I get through before I got to drag her out of here,
or go hang out in the club,
right, absolutely. But that. It's funny. You mentioned going down there, and I see you at the park all the time.
Yeah,
I think that's such a treasure for our community, having a downtown stadium like that, and having a place for kids to come and learn about the game, and I think
it's great family entertainment.
It is.
You don't have to be a diehard baseball fan. I don't know if you said that. That's like you remember that BP, and it was the experience there with your dad. You remember him sweating and being there, and you could appreciate that now looking back. And that's what it's about. It's the opportunity to connect with your family and be a part of something like that.
It is, and I think that when you look at our downtown and you look at Fresno as a community, I think it provides that anchor for the downtown. I mean, and we'll get into Fulton, and we'll get into what's going on in our downtown area. But I think and I know there was some controversy about that stadium when it was built, but I really do think that. Could you imagine what our downtown would look like if it wasn't there?
Exactly. If for some reason our city officials and even our counties got behind the Grizzlies and what they're doing with the stadium and the future of possible new ownership and all that stuff, that's all plays a big part. And I almost describe it as it's like a pioneer with the arrows in their back.
Right.
They're trying to make it happen right when it's starting to happen downtown. And a lot of people say, well, I don't see it. Well, you don't have to see it. When you know it and you're a part of it, you'll feel it.
Right.
And I feel it. In a big way, I see downtown making a big turn.
I think so. And you get into some of those, you go to some of those events when there's 10, 12,000 people down there. You mentioned the Race for the Cure. There were several thousand down there during the off season for an event.
Yeah.
It provides that nice anchor for our community.
Yeah, and then I know with the new potential owners for the future of the Grizzlies, I know they've always talked about big community involvement. That was one of the things that General Manager Derek Franks talked about.
Yes.
So that's real powerful in the operation of that stadium for the future, and with the Fresno Grizzlies being a part of the downtown growth. When we come back from the commercial, I want to talk to you a little more about downtown.
Okay.
You're downtown. Your office is downtown. Fulton Street is getting ready to open downtown. It's not the cure-all, but it's one big step moving forward. When we come back right here on Business Leaders Live, I have CEO and President of the Fresno Chamber of Commerce, Nathan Ahle. More to come right here on Business Leaders Live.
Tune in this Wednesday from 9 to 10 a.m. to Frontline Radio with Ben Berquam, your unashamed, unafraid political evangelist, exposing the left and mobilizing the right to stand in the Central Valley, across the state of California, and around the country. Christ, family, country. It's live. It's local. It's Frontline Radio with Ben Berquam on AM 1680. The Answer, brought to you in part by FrontlineAmerica.com, your source for updates on the battle to restore California's and America's identity.
This is Dennis Prager for 1680 The Answer. If you care about your country and your community, support The Answer by becoming a sponsor of the Dennis Prager Show. It's easier than you think, and you'll be reaching people like you, folks who care deeply about freedom and faith. Help keep the light of truth burning bright. Your neighbors are counting on you. To become a valued sponsor, call 559-233-8803. That's 559-233-8803. One more time, 559-233-8803.
About Millions and Apparel, located at 9439 North Saybrook Drive, Suite 103 in Fresno, is the proud sponsor of the Fighter's Voice, Central Valley's boxing and MMA one-hour weekly talk show, every Saturday at 5 p.m. and Sunday at 3 p.m., featuring local, amateur, and professional boxers, with interviews of Hall of Fame guests from trainers to boxing promoters. Get your weekly news and updates in the boxing world with your host from thefightersvoice.com, Richard Ortiz, here at KGED 1680 AM, The Answer.
Right now, the Home Depot has select special order Anderson windows and patio doors for 15% off. If you've been waiting for just the right time to upgrade, you're in luck. You're also in good company. J.D. Power has recognized Anderson for outstanding customer satisfaction with windows and patio doors. So stop waiting and start saving. Select Anderson windows and patio doors 15% off now at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Valid through October 11th. See store for details.
Veterans face treacherous situations filled with peril while serving our country. Many veterans come home physically injured, suffering with PTSD, have traumatic brain injuries or other ailments. Treatment is available, but we need your help. Help Heal Veterans, with the support of generous citizens like you, improves veterans' lives on a daily basis across the United States. For over 45 years, Help Heal Veterans has provided over 30 million therapeutic art kits and craft projects to these critically injured veterans, at no charge to them. Doctors, therapists, and brain injury experts recommend this type of therapy. Since the beginning of World War I, over 100 years ago, art and craft therapy has proven to improve gross motor skills, improve memory, and lessen anger issues in healing veterans. To volunteer or learn more, visit healvets.org. Help a veteran. Visit healvets.org.
Dad, I am totally lost in my math. My teacher goes way over my head. How will I ever pass this class?
I've always been a concerned parent, and I hated to see my daughter struggle with her math. I worried that her poor math skills would hurt her future. It wasn't that she didn't try, but she kept falling further behind. Then we got help with Math Made Easy. Concepts are simplified in a step-by-step approach, and students learn at their own pace. Within weeks, my daughter's grades improved, and she regained her confidence. Math Made Easy has all levels, from arithmetic and fractions to algebra, even calculus. Best of all, it's affordable for everyone. Listen, end the frustration. I'd like you to call now for a 30-day risk-free trial. 1-800-USA-MATH. That's 1-800-872-6284. Call now, 1-800-872-6284. 1-800-USA-MATH. Or visit us at mathmadeeasy.com.
You are listening to Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza, the behind-the-scenes story of the business shakers and movers in the Valley and beyond. Once again, here's Lance Cardoza.
Welcome back, everybody, to Business Leaders Live. In studio, I have the President and CEO of Fresno Chamber of Commerce, Nathan Ahle. Nathan, we've been talking about your career and what led you to Fresno, and now talking about, before we went to commercial break, we were talking about downtown and what it takes to create a vibrant downtown. We're getting ready to open up Fulton Street. It was Fulton Mall for many years. a lot of people on each side of the fence. It's not the cure-all, but it was a step towards something new and something different. And I was telling you that I've been part of downtown for a long time, and used to be in the Security Bank building. So back in the day when it wasn't popular to be downtown, and I loved it. I always loved it. And my biggest complaint was at 5 o'clock, everybody left. And it just sucked the life out of downtown, and it was a ghost town. What do you feel about Fulton Street? And I know you've been very supportive as a chamber.
We have. We've been supportive of downtown revitalization for many years. And I think, as you mentioned, we're part of the improvement district, the PBID downtown.
Yeah.
We're at Fresno and N Street. So, we're saying it from there's a little bit of self-interest there. We're property owners. We have
and explain the PBID,
right?
The property-based improvement tax,
right? It's an assessment that goes on our property tax bill for the downtown, all the property owners downtown that pays for things like the Downtown Fresno Partnership and pays for some of the improvements and infrastructure of the downtown area. And as you said, the chamber's been supportive for decades, and I come at it at a little bit of a unique perspective because I don't have the institutional memory of the Fulton Mall. I got here 2 weeks before they tore it up, so I took an opportunity my first week on the job to go and walk one time up and down just to kind of see what we were all talking about here.
Yeah.
And you had to do something. I hear the arguments that, downtown is a lost cause. Forget about it. Well, it's the heart of our community. I mean, you can't leave it to nothing. You can't leave it to rot. It's as I mentioned, I'm from St. Louis originally, and I think the parallels there are very similar.
Yeah.
Same thing happened in St. Louis in the 50s. Everybody moved out. There was a lot of
Suburbs
a lot of revitalization in the 60s. They built a new stadium. They built the arch. Yada yada yada. But everybody still moved out to the suburbs. It's very similar in Fresno. There was a lot of revitalization in the 60s with the original mall, with the Del Webb building that the county runs now, and some of these other major projects. But everybody still moved up north. They still moved out to Clovis. They still moved out to the east. But you can't leave it. It's there. It's part of your community. It's not something that you can just abandon. And I think that ripping out the mall, while I appreciate those that say that the historical significance is there, I think the city did a good job of respecting the historical significance of the mall. There was a great story in the Bee over the weekend about all the effort that the city put into preserving the art.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful, and the waterways around the art.
Mm-hmm.
They've done an incredible job. To me, it shined a better light on the art than I ever noticed before.
It did. If you go into what I think they call Kern Plaza now, shout out to Kern, right there outside the ballpark, outside the left field gate, where some of the artwork has actually been moved from its original place on the Fulton Mall. It's just beautiful. I mean, you go down there at night and it's lit up and the water's going and you got the ballpark in the background. You can see the potential of it. As you said, it's not a cure-all. It's not going to be...
It's one step forward.
The grand opening ceremony is a week from Saturday. It's the 21st. I think 3 o'clock is when they're cutting the ribbon. And, Mayor Brand and former Mayor Swearingen are going to do a parade, and it's going to be a big thing. But it's not done. It's not done at that point. Our friend Craig Sharton says that's the start. That's not the
only
end.
the beginning.
That's the beginning of downtown revitalization. You have to have something for those cars to drive past.
Yeah.
And the potential is there. Now what we're hoping for is the private investment to come in and restore some of these buildings and get some folks in there.
And you said it exactly right, is the cars to drive past. We want those cars to have desire to stop.
Right.
And right now, that's what I see that happening. You have the people downtown, they're parking down on Mall, because Fulton Street is already opening in certain sections, and people are using it, and they're there, and I see more traffic than I've ever seen before. But they're going to work, they're doing what they need to do, they come back, they pay the meter, and then boom, they bounce, or they do business and then they bounce. But I really feel that we've got to find a way where we stop that traffic.
Right.
You come down and you go, wow, I want to be a part of this.
The analogy I like to use for those that go to the coast is Higuera Street in San Luis Obispo. Okay, that's the heart of the downtown San Luis Obispo experience. And it's open to traffic. It's one way. Fulton Street's obviously two ways, but it's one way, and then there's another street that parallels going the other direction. But it's full of the local bars, the local restaurants, certainly catering to the college crowd, but catering to the residents of San Luis Obispo as well. So you get that, which I know that Craig and a lot of the folks that work downtown are very passionate about local restaurants, local bars, that sort of thing. But you also have an Apple store. You have the Gap. You have Victoria's Secret. You have Barnes & Noble. You have Sunglass Hut. You have Chipotle. You have... And I
recognizable national brands.
Right. And I get the millennial, I'm going to turn my nose up at an Apple store and a Gap and a Sunglass Hut because that's bourgeois conformist. I get that argument, but that's what's going to attract folks with families. It's what's going to attract people from Clovis. It's what's going to attract people from the other parts of the community.
And I would tell millennials,
it's going to get them to come downtown and stay.
Steve Jobs and all of them that started their businesses.
Right.
Started in a garage. They started in a bedroom. They started just like those millennials.
Right. Steve Jobs is about as nonconformist as you get, right?
Exactly. And those companies grew into massive brands, and they all started somewhere. So they have to always think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And those companies give back to their communities in a huge way. How do we attract those companies like that to be a part of the cool?
But it has to be a mixture. It has to be something that will attract families.
Exactly. So, and like you said, we got to stop the cars. They can drive by and drive down and do a parade and everything all you want, but you want to stop them and keep them. We talked a little bit about Bitwise South Stadium. There's a happening there. It draws people there, and then all of a sudden they see something happening over at Tioga. What is this? Or they drive by for the very first time and they see the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
This is what everybody's talking about. This is what's happening downtown. Not only downtown, but the Chamber of Commerce is all over Fresno County.
We are.
So let's talk about other communities and where the Chamber is an advocate for business, and talk more when we come back with Nathan Ahle with the Fresno Chamber of Commerce right here on Business Leaders Live.
What happens when your desire to heal turns into a nursing degree? Your passion to teach inspires the next generation. Your business savvy grows more than the bottom line. Your heart for helping leads to a degree in social work. What happens when your calling becomes your career? Just about anything. At Fresno Pacific University, we're making every possibility possible with our evening degree completion programs designed for busy adults. Learn more at fpu.edu.
It's time for The Legal Edge, a look at your rights as a Christian, a parent, and a citizen. And now, with a look at what's happening on the legal front, the president of the Pacific Justice Institute, Brad Dacus.
Many parents were extremely disappointed by Rockland Academy School Board's recent decision on the issue that began when a transgender children's book was read to a kindergarten class without parental notification. PGI was at the meeting to represent parents whose children were emotionally scarred by the event. While the board agreed to try to inform parents in the future before a controversial subject is covered in class, the compromise is empty, half-hearted, and meaningless. PGI is continuing to work with parents to evaluate their educational and legal options. For Pacific Justice Institute, I'm Brad Dacus.
To find out more about The Legal Edge, call 916-857-6900 or log on at pacificjustice.org.
The Legal Edge is brought to you by Larry Holliday at RBC Wealth Management.
This is Hugh Hewitt for Larry Holliday and the Holiday Diaz team at RBC Wealth Management. When thinking about retirement, most of us have questions such as how many years before I can retire? How much money do I need to retire? How will I pay for my later years in life? At RBC Wealth Management, they can help answer those questions and design a customized plan to meet your specific financial goals. If you have any questions about retirement, call Larry Holliday at RBC Wealth Management, 559-447-8213, 559-447-8213.
RBC Wealth Management is a division of RBC Capital Markets, LLC, member NYSE, FINRA.
Hello, baby.
By popular demand, Dick Delgado's Rhythm Roundup Oldies Show is moving to Sundays from 3 to 5 p.m. All your favorites from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. 2 full hours of the perfect cruising music to wrap up your weekend with the legendary Richard the Lion, Dick Delgado. So grab your hula hoop and slick back your hair for this sentimental trip through the valley. The Rhythm Roundup with Dick Delgado. Sundays 3 to 5 on AM 1680, The Answer.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-466-9625. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-466-9625.
For many businesses, hiring is tough, which makes it critical to choose the right place to post your jobs. You need qualified candidates fast and on budget, and you don't want to sign a long-term contract or pay upfront fees. That's why you need Indeed.com, the world's #1 job site. Independent research shows Indeed delivers 6 times more hires than any other job site. You can post a job in minutes and even set up screener questions to help you zero in on qualified candidates. You can review applicants, take notes, and schedule interviews, all from an easy-to-use online dashboard. For a limited time, Indeed is offering new users a $50 credit to make their first job listing a sponsored job, with premium visibility so more candidates will see it. You want to make a great hire fast, and this exclusive offer gives you a head start. Find out why over 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. To redeem this offer, go to Indeed.com/radio. That's Indeed.com/radio. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
Giving you the inside story of business leaders in the Valley and beyond. This is Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza.
Welcome back, everybody. We're getting down to the tail end of Business Leaders Live here every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. here on AM 1680, The Answer. Business leaders. And this week we have the president and CEO of the Fresno Chamber of Commerce, Nathan Ahle, on the show. And Nathan, we talked about your story, what brought you to Fresno. We've talked about a passion of downtown. It is a heart of a community and a heart of our city and where we're going. The Chamber of Commerce has a passion for business and small business. Talk to me about some of the challenges, because you guys deal with those challenges. You hear from people that are out there in the grind. They're in the trenches and they're working it all the time. What challenges are business people here in California having, and what is the Chamber doing to help support that?
Do you want to go another hour?
Yeah, exactly. There's a ton of it, I'm sure.
I think one of the good things we have going right now is that the legislature has thankfully recessed for the year. And we say thankfully because that means they can't do any more damage between now and the first of the year. Yeah. So you get a little bit of a respite. But no, just in all seriousness, I think there are definitely segments of the California state legislature that have declared war on small business in California. Just increased taxes, increased regulations, increased fees, increased paperwork, increased red tape. They just make it harder and harder for people to do business. Sole proprietors, a husband and wife that want to open a small business, or somebody that's got 3 or 4 employees. It just the burdens that are put on those businesses from a daily basis is just insane. And we as a Chamber of Commerce, our job is to kind of keep an eye on that sort of thing for you, so that you can concentrate on doing what you do best, which is running your business. We offer educational programs that can help you do those sorts of things, that can help you run your business more effectively. But it's interesting that this community, we survey our members and we ask them what's most important to them, what they expect us to do for their investment dollar in our organization. And in most communities, they'll tell you that advocacy and public policy work is probably the 6th or 7th most important thing that they want. In Fresno, it's number 2. It's a very close second. I imagine that in a few years, advocacy will be the number 1 reason people join our organization.
What's number 1 right now?
Networking and business opportunities. Right.
Do more business.
But I imagine that within the next few years, just because of the strength of our government affairs program that's been built up over the last 10, 15 years, that's what people pay us for. That's what is expected of us. And we really take great pride in the ability to be a business advocate and to kind of navigate some of the pitfalls that California brings to business and to its political climate to try to make things happen and try to move the needle.
So one of the things that, just specifically, if you can pick out one that from the state has become a pressure for small business, and what are we doing about it? What are we? We need to get the right decision makers in office because to understand what the small business person goes through. I think that's very important. So it puts it back on the small business people. Like, what are you doing to make sure that we're putting the right people in office to do that? But on a state level, it's a bigger picture. It's like moving a carrier and getting it to turn around.
Right.
So what are those things?
One of the things that we always talk about is, like, for example, last year the minimum wage fight that went to $15 over a graduated period. We could read the tea leaves. We could count votes, same as anybody else. One of the things Nathan Alonso and I do all the time is sit around and count votes in the state assembly and the state senate, and they say, okay, well, they're going to get the 2/3, they're going to get the 50%, whatever they need to get this done. So where can we work to make it a little better?
Yeah.
It's going to go to $15. It's not going to go to $15 overnight. It's going to have gradual things. It's going to have carve-outs in case the economy turns south. We're going to be able to hit that pause button. And it's not ideal. It's not. I think in a perfect world, it would be one of those things where the economic impact of those things are considered. But unfortunately, the political reality and the political climate of California being what it is, you have to try to find small victories where you can. And then that kind of flips to the political side of it is, as you mentioned, getting the right folks in office and getting people elected that are going to be able to move things forward and be able to represent the values of our community while finding ways to work with people and get things done.
And I think a lot of times, too, listen to small business people that are there, and that's what the Chamber is doing all the time. You get a call, I'm sure, daily.
We do.
There's always something, and you're there to assist and help navigate and figure out how to circumvent the issues that arise in a small business. So if someone wants to look into it more, then maybe they're not a Chamber member. Maybe they're thinking about becoming a Chamber member and the benefits to that, and we've been talking about some of that. What's the first step? What do they do?
Give us a call, 495-4800, FresnoChamber.com. Give us a call. We'll meet with anybody anytime and get them involved in our organization and hear some of their concerns. And I would be remiss, Lance, if I didn't mention that one of the things that businesses struggle with a lot is red tape, and the city has been known in the past, I think somewhat fairly, as being somewhat difficult to work with.
I think all cities at times.
All cities,
can be that
certainly.
Way. Yeah.
But I have to give so much credit to just the mayor brand and the way his administration is really trying to bring jobs, really put a focus on economic development, and try to clean up some of that quagmire and make it much easier to do business. And you've seen just in the 10 months that he's been in office, just a great push forward, sort of creating more momentum and building on the work that the Swearingen administration did to move Fresno forward and be very business friendly. So I think things are definitely getting better in that regard. So we'd be remiss in not mentioning that the city is really making great strides there.
And when we talk about it's difficult to do business in California, and if you're in business as an entrepreneur or a small business owner, you're a fighter.
Absolutely.
You're fighting.
You have to be.
You have to be. And never lay down to this. Sometimes they say it's hard to do business in California. It's only as hard as we make it to be. But we have to continue to fight. We have to continue to know what's right for our business, and we got to communicate. A lot of business people don't communicate.
It is hard, but it's not impossible. But as you said, you gotta communicate, and you gotta look for help when you need it.
So you can always go to the Fresno Chamber of Commerce. They're always there to help and assist and listen. When we come back, we'll be wrapping up here with Business Leaders Live with Nathan Ahle with the Fresno Chamber of Commerce. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
In the future, your home's energy footprint is going to be much smaller than it is today. Energy efficiency and green building programs combined with government incentives and private ingenuity will reduce your energy consumption anywhere from 20 to 40%. Green is good, and it will save you money.
Our family at Donald P. Dick, your locally owned and operated heating and air conditioning company, and proud to be the People's Choice Award winner for the 9th straight year, reminds you to go green and save. Call today for a free estimate.
Donald P. Dick is introducing a whole house approach. Air and duct sealing, attic insulation, hot water pipe insulation. Ideas designed to drive the cost of energy down. Plus, your home could qualify for valuable energy rebates. Call Mr. Cool, Donald P. Dick Heating and Air at 255-1644. They'll show you how to save money by saving energy. For 3 generations in Fresno, it's been Donald P. Dick Heating and Air. Call 255-1644 and let Mr. Cool show you how to drive down the cost of home energy.
Join us this weekend for the Calvary Perspective with Gene Pinciero.
One secret, you would say, to a lifestyle of worship is to act upon what you know rather than wait for everything to be revealed. The mystery heightens the romance for those who are in love with each other. And this is one of the reasons why God doesn't tell you everything.
The Calvary Perspective with Gene Pinciero can be heard Saturday mornings at 8:30 and Sunday afternoons at 1 on KGED 1680 AM.
Geico presents Unhelpful Home Improvement How-Tos.
Overhanging trees present a real danger. During high winds, falling branches can damage roofs and windows. So today, I'll show you how to protect your home by wrapping it in bubble packaging. All you need is a staple gun and 142,000 feet of bubble packaging. Let's get started.
You could try to protect your home with bubble packaging, or you could get covered for personal property damage through the Geico Insurance Agency. Call Geico and see how affordable homeowners insurance can be.
You are listening to Business Leaders with Lance Cardoza, the behind-the-scenes story of the business shakers and movers in the Valley and beyond. Once again, here's Lance Cardoza.
Hello, everybody. It's been a great program sitting here with Nathan Ahle with the Fresno Chamber of Commerce. I call him Nathan Ale before we went to commercial. After even talking about it, I can't believe it.
And I didn't notice, but apparently I cringed. So.
You cringed a little bit. Yeah. We like to, when we wrap up our program, we always like to take a personal look at somebody and say, maybe I have something in common with this guy and something to talk to him about. And what is something that someone doesn't know about you? A hobby or something that you do, Nathan?
Well, one of the things I get asked all the time, and let me just get it out there for the record, I'm 6'5". I do not play basketball.
You do?
Okay. The first thing
everybody asks you that.
Right. I think about getting a T-shirt that says how tall I am, and no, I don't play basketball. And no, I didn't when I was a kid. Again, it goes back to having talent. It's kind of funny. I was born in 1980, but my tastes tend to be a little older. I am a very, very diehard fan of the Beatles, for example.
Oh, wow.
My daughter is Lucy. Name for the song, of course, and she knows that that's her song. You know, she knows she knows all the words. When she was 2 years old, she would say plasticine porters with looking glass ties. I mean, she didn't know what it meant, but she did. And then our new baby boy is Jake Harrison. So each of our children has a little Beatles tie-in.
Beatles tie.
Yeah, so kind of that the 80s kid with the little spirit of the 60s in there, which is kind of fun.
Influence from your parents?
No, not really.
No?
I don't.
Just came upon it?
I don't know where. I mean, I guess maybe they were always around somewhere. But it's interesting. I think there's kind of a karmic thing. It's the number one song in the country the day I was born was Just Like Starting Over, because John Lennon had just been killed. So it's just kind of that. Maybe there's a little thread there.
There's just
something.
a little thread, fabric of your growing up. Good deal. Well, thank you for being on the program, Nathan. We appreciate you coming on Business Leaders Live and talking about the Fresno Chamber of Commerce.
Anytime.
And one more time, how can they get involved real quick?
FresnoChamber.com or 495-4800. Give us a call. Appreciate it, Lance. Thank you.
Next week, right here on Business Leaders Live, Tuesday at 9 a.m., we have the 40 Under 40. We're announcing the class and talking to some alumni. We'll talk to you next week.
There are thousands of different rules in the Social Security Handbook. Are you confident that you know the right ones that apply to you? The wrong decision could be costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars. At Financial Engines, we believe there's no one-size-fits-all answer to claiming Social Security benefits, and that it's important to work with an advisor to understand the pros and cons of delaying benefits and how to avoid the hidden traps that could reduce them. As America's largest independent investment advisor, according to Investment News, Financial Engines offers help to more than 9 million people. 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 9 million people.